So to me, it was important that he at least hear that information so he could make a decision for himself. So I made contact with him again and called him in, I think, mid-September 2007.
Okay,
I'm sorry, 1997.
just so we're clear, in terms of your high school years, how long of a break, I guess, was there between this phone call that you made to break up with Mr. Arias and the phone call you made to recontact him? How long of a break or was there in between those two?
I'd say, let's see, maybe 19 months.
So you make this phone call to Mr. Juarez, and you said this was in 1997?
Yes.
Okay. And where would you have been in school then? Would you be in junior year? Or?
I was just starting my junior year.
Okay. And subsequent to this phone call, did you begin to remain a friendship with Mr. Juarez? Tell us about how that evolved.
Well, when I first called, he answered the phone. I could recognize his voice. And I said, "Is Bobby there?" And he said, "Yeah, who's this?" And I said, "Jodi." And I immediately heard a click. So I left it alone, and I thought, okay, because our last phone call some years back didn't end well. And so the next night I tried one more time, and the same thing happened. So I left it alone. And about...
Well, let me ask you this before we continue. You mentioned that Wairika was a pretty small town, right?
Yes.
Okay. You never ran into Mr. Juarez in between these two phone calls?
No, he didn't live in Wairika. He lived in Montague, which is 6 miles from Wairika. It's even smaller. I think there's about 1,000 people in that town.
Okay. But never during this time did you run into him at all?
No.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you had talked about you had called him a couple times. You hear the click on the other end of the phone. How does the relationship progress from that point?
I don't know how many days later. It was under a week, maybe 4 days, maybe 5 days. I was on the phone with a friend of mine, and we were talking, and I heard the call waiting beep, so I clicked over, and I heard someone say, "Is Jodi there?" And I recognized his voice, so I clicked back over and said, "I have to call you back." So I clicked back over, and we started talking again.
Okay. Did you, after that conversation, did you become friends again? Did you start dating again? Just describe that for us.
Yeah, I felt kind of silly explaining to him why I was calling him, especially knowing that his religious beliefs at that time were not really defined. And I kind of expected him to laugh at me, but it was important to me. So I told him the reason I was calling, and
overall, you may continue.
He expressed appreciation for that, which surprised me. We just sort of picked up from there and began talking again.
Does talking mean dating?
No, not yet.
Mr. Murray, we're going to take the afternoon recess. Ladies and gentlemen, please be back in the designated area at 3:20. Please remember the admonition. You are excused.
All rise for the jury.